This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's back.
The It's Back with Nahaja Black is sponsored by the Ministry of Health, Cable Bahamas, Rev Christmas, ML Foods Limited, the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, BTC, Fidelity Bank Bahamas, J.S. Johnson, and Baha Retreat and Spa.
Good afternoon, Bahamas, and welcome to the Hit Back. I'm your host, Nahaja Black. It is a beautiful day here in the 242. I hope that you are doing well, taking care of yourself, and living your best life today. That is the continued hope for this and every day. Don't forget that you have to make it a point to even if it's mentally. You may not have progressed financially. You may not have progressed spiritually, but in your mind, let your mind shift before your body. Everything has to come because of your consciousness, because of your I am. Your I am in yourself then makes everything fall into line. Your I am, that who I am in this moment, in this day, is the driving force to your personal success. It is not what other people say that I am. That's why Jesus says, who do men say that I am? But I am that I am. I am bigger than who you say that I am. And that is a mindset shift and change. That mindset shift and change changes your life. You change in your mind first before the reality happens. You have to think the thing before the thing is created. No one could have created the DVD if they hadn't thought it first in their minds. We couldn't create the medical system, the cures for these diseases, if we at first did not think them in our minds. You have to see it in your mind's eye before it becomes real in the physical. That's why the Bible says faith without works is dead. Just as the body is dead without the spirit, so is faith without works is dead also. Scripture knows and tells you that you must be before the thing. You must be before the thing happens. See your success. See the promote space. That's what we have to do. Don't wait. I don't like this waiting in terms of sitting down. We believe that God will bless us with money on the beach. We believe these things will come whilst we sit. But they that wait on the Lord, it ain't the sitting down and waiting. It is the waiting, the serving in the process of his progress. You got to know that it must be you in front of the thing. Your mind got to be ahead of the money. Your spirit, your bank account ain't representing your wealth yet. Get ahead of it. I don't know who this is for today, but it's somebody for you. It's for you because it's for me. I have to say that I am successful. My family is well. It is healthy. It is whole. I am living in an abundant spirit. I want to be financially free. My family and my husband and I, we always talk about financial freedom. But financial freedom means that we're free in our minds. First, we have to be free in our minds first. So we wake up with a free mind. And when we're out of order, the other says, no, that ain't a free man's mind. We've got to be free. The slave, I have this analogy in my head. It's always interesting, right? Because I think of certain things and I wonder what happened when there were folks who were free. Why, when we became freed slaves, when we were no longer in bondage, the emancipation, some were successful and others just inevitably wanted to overthrow the master in his house. See, the freed slave was free before the papers came. So when he was given the papers, his mind was already 10 steps ahead of him. He already knew what he wanted to do because he saw his freedom. He saw his success. He and she, however it goes, they embody that process. Why is it so important that we embody the process of freedom in the mind? The seeing, the believing, the speaking those things that be not as though they are. Why is it so important? Because when you do it and I do it, our neighbor does it, and then our child does it, we're changing the mindset of a people. That is the transformation. Why is it important to transform yourself? To no longer be a victim? Because whilst you're a victim, that person who victimized you continues to have the power. You stay on your knees. But we must ascend. To ascend means to rise up and take steps forward, take steps up, and never forget. Humility comes with this revelation. But it changes a people, and we are a people that go to church every day on Sunday, twice, 3 times a week. But we are a country racked in bondage. Bondage. Fear consumes us. The things we don't know, we are afraid of. We don't seek knowledge, wisdom, and allow wisdom to be the principal thing. We panic rather than pursue the exit. And so this is why the mindset shift of we the people has to be an individual thing first. As an individual, shift yourself, then shift your family, meaning your children. They are your direct. If you're in ministry or leadership, shift the culture. But the first shift must come with us, from within. That shift of being the I am in the moment. You've got to see your successful relationship, see your successful children, be ahead. You can imagine Thomas Edison. You can imagine, Doris Johnson and all of the freedom fighters, Randolph Oaks. You can imagine their mindset. Those persons who were seeing their freedom, our change. So if you're not there, get there. Don't complain. Don't wait for someone else to shift so you can. When politicians and parties change, it don't change me none. Because I've been ahead of I'm always looking up to my own, like I'm so special. My point is that I exist outside of their machinations, if that makes sense. Because governments change. But who are we to them? Their life is changing, but is yours changing? So you've got to be, the only things we need from our politicians is policies. And when the policies begin to change because of their mindset and cultural change, then we begin to change. Now, all of that said, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. And hello to everyone who is following us online. If you're listening in your car, I just want to tell you to be encouraged. It is important that we get ourselves in a different space. Why am I on this tangent or this thinking today? Because, I've said it many times. One of the greatest challenges that we have in this country is education. Education is vital in any society. It is imperative to a people's success, right? And it is basic education, basic, fundamental literacy, numeracy. We need to be people that have basic education, but then we want to ascend as a nation. There's so many opportunities for us in education. Y'all don't understand when we're strategic, right? Just strategic building can transform this country fiscally. In my mind, in my mindset, right? Just even if you said, oh, listen, we've created a labor force that is trained in hospitality, not in ownership of hospitality, but trained in the labor of hospitality. The labor of hospitality doesn't require that you and I need to graduate magna cum, summa cum. No. And even at the top tier of management, the labor of hospitality finds a way to sideline and squeeze us out because the majority of our major resorts are foreign owned. And if you understand business culture, we tend to have this issue where we are upset with companies that come in and want their own people at the helm. Being a business owner at one point, I understand that you want people who feel your vision, feel your mindset, feel your identity, someone whom you have direct rapport with and over at the very top because they speak to you. Then subsequently, the other tiers, you look for the best and brightest of them. Now, we do know that some tend to believe that we are a third world backward country. So what could we know more than a first world country? But we could take these people to school when it comes to, hospitality in terms of management, staffing, etc. We're pretty good at those things. We failed, though, and being the masters of those things and then the teachers, right? Because the master teaches. But I digress. I'm not even going there yet. My point is, with this labor thing is that we have created a workforce that is customized for this market, okay? Our labor force has not been elevated or finds the need for higher levels of learning, because as soon as I come out of high school, I can leave with a leaving certificate, but I can get a job as a busboy. I can get a job as a waiter or a waitress. I can do these things and not necessarily be the best counter, be the best reader. I can do these things. And how I know, I'm not telling you something I don't know. My mother left school at 14. My father, I think, a little later than she, but without high school, technically a full high school education, right? And they were successful. I had Loftus Roca, the former minister, I think the first minister of immigration of the Bahamas circa 1973, right? Circa, since, post 1973. And he shared something with me. He said one of the greatest faults or failings was that there was twofold. One, that we failed to make it known that every job is an honest living. So we found that people, when they got more educated, didn't want to be gardeners or landscapers. They didn't want to be garbage collectors, hence the need for more foreign imports. They didn't want to do, farming, etc. Hence, you could have all of these, foreign migrants or migrants coming in to do this low-level labor. So we changed the way we looked at labor, right? And then there was this other thing where he said or shared with me was that also what tourism did was change the labor force and the desire for education, right? Higher levels of education. Because now I can go ahead and get $400, $500, $600. And when season is good, that's one night's tip. So I don't need to go to college. I don't need to go to university. Hell, I barely need to finish school, right? So this is this conversation, how tourism has changed us, and we've created a market where you are trained. Let's go through the process of hiring, right? The process of hiring labor is that you go to this now farming sort of system, this farming system where everyone comes in. I heard the Bahama has a very interesting system by which they hire people. And you go through this system where, you tell your talents, they ask you a few questions. But in essence, we're finding people to fit slots and roles. And then they get trained. And you are trained the way of the company. It is a system. You are a cog or peg in the system. When the numbers go down, you are removed from the system. If you are a high value asset, right? If you're a high cost asset, where you are an educated person making $60,000, $70,000 per year, maybe in management, if you're lucky, $80,000, $90,000 per year in management, you find that you're given more work because you're middle management, less perks or benefits, because they create that spirit or fear of scarcity. You want this job, then you're going to work twice or three times as hard, but we're still going to bring someone over you who you may have to train. And this is our tourism model. We're pegs, we're cogs in the wheel, and the labor force has been kept by and large relatively low. And then they still come in and take your tips or make you spread the tips. So you're not making anywhere as much as you used to make 20, 30, 40 years ago in the tourism industry, right? So all of these things have changed the way education is even viewed or seen, because I can get a job right away. I'm not telling you things I'm guessing. I have a wonderfully talented, beautiful niece who's going to be a teacher, came out of school and started working, right? Started working, and forgive me for all of the rights in between. This is my thought process. Started working and decided, listen, man, the $600 a week ain't bad. And so university got cut. Teaching got cut. She didn't see the pandemic coming. But at this point now, we're a parent and we need the job, and school is a distant story. And then, you learn later about seasons and how you work 4 days and 3 days. Education is valuable and fundamental. valuable and fundamental, but we've only created a system or a set of systems with one grouping of people. We've created a niche. And I know I hear my producer saying it's time for break. We've created a niche market. Is there a way to create another niche market? We are in a crisis, and I'll tell you why. Also, I must apologize as we go to break. The minister, the one and only Glennis Hannah Martin, she and I spoke. We spoke Saturday night. Was very excited about her joining me today. She was very excited to join me today. Unfortunately, she has to postpone it from tomorrow. The reason being is, of course, these cabinet ministers, meetings take forever. And so she will be joining us tomorrow at 4:10. Belinda Wilson, the Bahamas Union of Teachers president, will be joining us. But I want to add something else, but we'll do that on the other side of the break. Stick and stay. We'll be back right after this.
Funny, all black up yesterday.
But she say she bumped into a wall when she's running after the churn them.
Yeah, but last Saturday, you see her arm was all black and blue, right?
What you saying? You think something wrong between her and Jack?
I ain't sure, but Jack is a jealous man. I hear him and Cora last Friday. I hear him say he hear Cora have eyes for Junior.
Now, you know that ain't true. Cora is a good woman, does mind her business, take care of them churn, and go to church every Sunday. So what you think we should do?
I think we should report Jack, Cora don't say nothing, but silence hides violence, and we don't want to line up in the cemetery.
Not me. I ain't getting in nobody business, then Jack come after me, and I land up next to Cora.
No, man, we could call a text crime stopper. And remember, we can even get some grocery money for our tip.
Remind me again, how does this work?
We can call them in Miami at 328-TIPS or 328-8477. Or when we in the island, call toll-free at 300-TIPS or 300-8477. And if you don't have no minutes, use the Crack Crime Bahamas app, and we could text them, and the messages get on mix up before it leave your phone, so nobody can know what you saying.
So what we waiting on then? Let's go earn some grocery money.
You've heard about the 12 days of Christmas, but this year, Rev is giving you even more Christmas with 31 days of giveaways. Simply sign up or upgrade to Trio or pay your Rev bill in full. Then listen to yours truly, the Natural Empress and Free Your Mind every weekday to find out if you've won prizes like 55-inch smart TVs and up to $20,000 in cold hard cash. Call 601-8992 today. Rev, you and us, together.
Do you want to travel this holiday season? Don't want to miss out on those doorbuster deals? Haven't gotten your COVID-19 vaccine yet? The Johnson & Johnson vaccine may be just what you need. It's one and done and fully vaccinated. For now, just one jab of this vaccine and 2 weeks later, you're fully vaccinated and ready to shop.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health and this radio station.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. So the topic today, we're talking about education. We're talking about the need to change our mindset and shift. And I have to ask this question, but before I get to that question, I want to continue this train of thought. So we will be having, before I get to that train of thought, Belinda Wilson, Bahamas Union of Teachers president, will be joining us in about 10 minutes. And the Minister of Education, Glennis Hannah Martin, has sent her apologies today. She was to join us at the top of the show, but she will join us tomorrow, giving us more time at the top of the show. So she extends her apologies for missing it today. So we've created a niche market, right? And that's one of my concerns. We've created a niche market, but only in tourism and finance. Tourism and finance, offshore banking. Those are our two main niche markets. And we've seen in recent years, finance is being pressured. Finance is being strangled by external bodies, international bodies, the European Union. My God, even the Dutch, Denmark wanted to put a blacklist on us. We've got the UK overall wanting to have their resolve and restraints on us. We've got all kinds of issues, right? So the OECD, everyone wants to tell us what to do, and that's putting a stranglehold on this niche market. And what we haven't done is adjusted. We haven't created a niche market with other levels of education. And note that finances is a is a more educated grouping of folks and specialized skill sets. But are they the only specialized skill sets that we can do? We can really transform this country just in education, just in niches. FTX company, a leading crypto exchange, has moved to the country. We aren't talking about fintech at all. Actually, the question is, can we discuss fintech? Right? What are our geopolitical advantages? What levels of certifications can we train our young people that is in high labor, high wage earning categories that we can niche, use our geolocation, our location, and niche this market or niche markets where we can get our kids quickly certified using BTVI or the NTA or the last few years of high school, give them some idea or some sense of purpose for the next 4, 5, 6 years after high school. And now we own and corner a market. They get to be paid rather than these flexi wages within the hotel industry, given real skills and skill sets that can transcend and go across borders. So they're now able to travel with their education. What sort of niche markets can we create that allows our children to make $40,000, $50,000, which is still really maybe about $40,000, $50,000 less than what is paid in the United States? Like, what have we ever asked those questions? Because I'm telling you that there are opportunities out there. We asked the question, why did the FTX come here? Why did they come here? What is the competitive advantage? Now, how do we get more? How do we get staffing? How do we begin to build on this? Ladies and gentlemen, however, whilst thinking these things, there is something else that's going on, that's been going on for 2 years. Something else that, if I coin the phrase of the minister, is called an invisible crisis. The something else is that we continue to see the widening gap of education between the haves, the struggling to have, and the have-nots. Why this bothers me so is because I am a product of public education. Very proud of it. Very proud of it. My mother was not one, she would just tell me to do my homework, but she wasn't one to help. My brother actually was my inspiration for learning, my older brother, because he would be to the table studying, and I knew I liked that. That was cool. I don't know how cool it could be, but it is what it is. So it isn't even that your parents are, that there are parents who aren't involved in their children's education. Like I said, my mother left school at 14. She couldn't take me down this road, but she ensured that if I needed something, even though a single mother of 6, that she would ensure that I get it. I needed books, she would ensure that I got it. Single mother of 6 working in the hotel, thank God for the time that she was. That's when people used to make money in the hotel. You know what I'm saying? That's when they used to make money. But she did what she had to do to ensure that I learned. I'm a product of this public school system. I'm a proud pacer. I'm happy and very proud I went to C.W. Sawyer Primary School, by the way, which still ain't open. Okay? I don't know what them said was doing with that school. These children been in UB for God knows how long. I digress. That ain't the show today. But this is a widening gap. So the announcement over the weekend was that, again, we will not have final exams. And now, honestly, final exams are one thing. They're just a part of a bigger picture, the part of the bigger picture for me. So am I crying about final exams not happening? Some parents are. Teachers are frustrated. They felt as if it took too long for this news to happen. It got to them too late, right? And I agree. a week before school is to close, and then the ministry will have to, say why it took so long to make this decision. But beyond the not having final exams is the question of why are we not having final exams? I tell you, I was told that, Nahaja, this is a national crisis that no one is really talking about. And I can be honest with you and tell you that I am sitting in a seat of fortune or favor, or no, that's not the right word. With this regard, I'm not on the ground. My children have been in school, so I missed it. My ear wasn't to the ground with this. I would hear it, but I didn't get it, right? Because I'm still struggling myself every day, trying to make sure that the virtual is working and the hybrid is working, managing and juggling. But my kids are in school. There are thousands of children not in school. This is not their problem. It is our problem, a we problem. Because when we have already issues of unemployment, every year thousands of children are coming out of school with no employment. Worse now, we know that there has always been children coming out of school who are functionally still illiterate. We don't discuss that. Children who become adults who are frustrated because they're embarrassed, they can't read, they're embarrassed, they can't count. They've got jobs, been working for years, and they cannot function. We don't discuss this. But then we want to have this privileged conversation of crime. This privileged conversation of, look at these children always doing fool. This privileged conversation of why people don't control their children. But we're not starting at the bottom. So now the gap is widening. And this widening gap of those who have education and those who don't is setting a disservice for generations to come. What happens when you have a lack of education? Right? 10 consequences. I was online, I've been reading up, right? So the consequences of a lack of education. And I'll give you 5. They said the first one is poor health. Primary education is important for learning about personal health and hygiene. Poor health and hygiene is a serious issue in societies where large amounts of the population lack an education. Important basic health that is taught at schools include pregnancy and prenatal care, basic hygiene, and sexual health. But we don't teach them. I don't even know what to say about us. Second one is a lack of a voice. It says people who are uneducated or undereducated do not have the skills or confidence to speak for themselves. Shorter lifespan. It's a poverty trap, the inability to escape poverty due to lack of resources. Children of poorer people are more likely to be poor themselves. This is also known or often known as the intergenerational poverty trap. Unemployment. Everywhere in the world, jobs are given out to the most qualified people. Educational credentials are one major way in which employers choose between job applicants. If you don't have that high school diploma or university degree, chances are you'll drop to the bottom of the pile. That's obvious and given. This is a widening gap where this world is changing quickly. We had a governor general in Bloomberg Business Week and Forbes magazine talking about being a pioneer of a digital currency, moving from fiat. Yeah? Oh, well, actually, it is a fiat currency. Well, it's just a digital space. But this is not where we are. People are still struggling with digital wallets. We don't know anything about coding or developing. We are going to be behind as a country, even in our progress. We hail policy things, but not people things, right? We're going to hail a policy change to become a republic. But what does that even mean if we don't know how to take advantage of being a republic? And if our mindset is that those at the top will lead us home, those at the top will continue to be happy about being at the top. Their comfort will never move us. Majority of folks, when comfortable, are not moved to take change. When real revolution happens, it doesn't happen with the poor. The poor are too busy being broken financially strapped, living day to day, trying to survive. It's when the middle class finds itself falling down to the lower classes. That level of discomfort brings change. The wealthy have no reason to fight. They're wealthy. They're the top of the food chain. But we have to now realize that this educational gap is killing our society. It is a slow and invisible end to us, and there must be more urgency. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to bring on Belinda Wilson, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. I'm going to ask her questions today. We are not having final exams today, this next week, right? The minister will join us tomorrow, and we'll have this discussion with her as well. She said some very strong and poignant things in the House of Assembly a few weeks ago. And so we're going to have that discussion with her as well. But we're going to have a discussion with Belinda Wilson, the Bahamas Union of Teachers. And then I want to ask you your thoughts, and I want you to call in and tell me your concerns. Because, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time. The alarm should have been set and ringing ablaze. There should be no other major narrative other than how do we get our children not just back into school, but how do we catapult the Bahamas in a sphere of education that transcends us as a people? How do we become the I ams? You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. We'll be back right after this.
Rejuvenate, refresh, treat yourself. Immerse yourself in total comfort. Pamper yourself. After all, you're worth it. Relax. Rid yourself of all life's stresses. At Baja Retreat Anti-Aging Spa, you will find everything you need to enhance your body and spirit. Call today at 323-6711 and begin your journey to serenity at Baja Retreat Anti-Aging Spa.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Joining me is none other than Belinda Wilson, Bahamas Union of Teachers President. Belinda, welcome to The Hit Back.
Yes, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to join you this afternoon.
Listen, it's a pleasure to have you, Belinda. Well, of course, I know you heard some parts of it, the show. Oh, and I think we have the audio good. So I know you heard some parts of the show earlier. And the first thing is, of course, we all heard the announcement from the Ministry of Education that there will be no final exams for this Christmas season, no end of term exams here. What do you know of why we came to that decision?
Well, let me first of all say thank you for having me on the show. Good afternoon to all of those teachers, hardworking educators out there. But let me state from the onset that the Bahamas Union of Teachers, we agreed with the decision not to have the end of term examinations for December 2021 because it was obvious to us. We just met on Friday, December the 3rd. The examinations were to be held starting today. So if education is having a meeting with us on Friday the 3rd, when examinations are to be for the week of Monday the 6th to Friday the 10th, it's obvious that they did not have a plan. So in order for us to move forward, we agreed that no examinations for the end of term, and that there will be an assessment of students when students return to schools in January 2022. And then there would be a progress report in February of 2022.
Okay, so then this assessment, explain that a bit for me. Just tuning in, Belinda Wilson joining me. So there's a need for an assessment, and that assessment could not happen before the end of term. So will this assessment then encompass, because I know we've been talking about now going into a hybrid space come January, and I'm sure you'll tell me how close we are to that actually happening based on the information you've gotten. But this assessment now, why do we need to wait until then? Is it something that we can't just finish off until for the end of this term?
Okay, I reiterate. The ministry and the Department of Education did not present one sheet of paper that is a proposed draft or plan for examinations, for assessments, and for the way forward. So, like I said, if the examinations were to start today, and Friday, you have nothing in your hands as to this is the plan. So obviously then they have no plan. So in order for us to move on, we agreed. The next thing is you spoke about assessment. So in our discussions in the meeting on Friday, I questioned. I said, what would be the format of the assessments? Because you have pre-assessments that's diagnostic. You would have a formative assessment, a summative assessment. All of these various assessments determine the type of design that your examinations will have. And it also determines what is it that you're actually testing. What is the behavioral or the skill that you would like for these students to show that they can do? Because that's what it is. Mm-hmm. So unclear as to what format or design the assessments will take. However, the primary school person who represented in the meeting was able to say that the primary examinations for the area that's specific to her area would be formative. But we know that we cannot have a standardized examination across the board if we know that there are 30% of our students who never graced the halls of a school or the virtual platform from March 2020. That equates to 14,400 students, our little darlings. And then education would have said that 80% of the teachers logged on to their so-called LMS. So if 80% of the teachers logged on to the LMS, then that means if we're looking at the 3,000 members of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, then we're talking about 600 teachers who never logged on. And then they gave teachers the instruction about a week or two ago that they would do virtual examinations. Then they came back and said, no, hard copies. So obviously, it is evident that there are no plans that are written, that have been reviewed, and that are ready to be shared with the Bahamas Union of Teachers, one of the main stakeholders of the Ministry of Education.
Belinda Wilson joining us, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. So then I have this someone sent a text to me, says, this is a failure of leadership in the Ministry of Education. I don't give any responsibility to red or yellow. It is the Ministry of Education.
And I want to agree with that individual, because the constant is that the educational officials that have been in the ministry in the Department of Education prior to September the 16th still remain. And Belinda Wilson has been sounding the alarm for years. So, I don't care what color you wear. You could wear a rainbow. But if you slopping up and you're not making any sense and you are not engaging the union and you're not working toward improving the educational system, then my tolerance level with you is very, 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 very short. And so the same people that we've been having the same problems with exist. So no matter how many meetings, and I said it to them in the meeting on Friday, we have meetings, we have discussions, we then give recommendations, and more often than not, the recommendations are ignored. But these are sound, concrete recommendations that can assist with getting our children to school, ensuring that they're in a safe environment, knowing that our teachers are aware of what the plans are, what are the clear and concise instructions, how do we operate in this COVID environment. What I can say to you, 20 months on, 2 governments, we are still here. We full circle where we were last year.
Full circle. You know how disappointing that is to me, Belinda, because we've been doing this, like you said, 20 months. We've been discussing education, the techniques, the strategies by which we ensure that our children learn. I think everyone kind of rested, from that March to the end of that term, that first term, we understood it was lost months. We didn't think it would be as protracted as it has been. But what we haven't seen is this. No, let me stop. Let me ask you this, Belinda. Before we go to break, let me ask you this. Are we in an educational crisis?
We are in a crisis. And what is so sad for me is that when there is a crisis, I see an opportunity there's an opportunity to recalibrate. There's an opportunity to look at the situation with a microscopic view. That, remember, the minister said that this is an invisible crisis?
Yeah.
So if the new minister, who's only been in for 3 months, sees it as an invisible crisis, then it means to her, through you, that you cannot look at an invisible crisis with the same eyes or the same glasses. You need a microscope, which goes down into that minute, the smallest cell. And when you examine what the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats are, then you are able to, first of all, deliver the instruction, the academic instruction that the children need. And you'll also be able to create or design the policies that are needed for us to address the dilemma and the crisis that we face.
You know, one of these concerns, and I'm glad you said it, because it requires then a different sort of eye, a different thinking. If you have not encountered this problem before, it's only so many times you run into the wall. There's a need to adjust. And I mean, we're still talking about 30%. We're still talking about it as if we're still talking about this one thing, Belinda, we've always been talking about for decades. The national grade point average is D. And that's all we say. That's all we do is say what it is. And there's no adjustment. But now we're talking about generations of children who is it's not just coming into the workforce and not having a job, but we're talking about effectively seeing children who might have to repeat. So 2-3 years taken off of their educational time. Or are we going to do social promotion? Are kids, who were on scholarship or on that scholarship track, how are they being affected with this whole thing?
Let me say to you, I hear a lot of people pushing back about repeating a grade. Most of our students come out around age 16, 17. Persons, if you're going on a real job, they take you at 18 plus. So I know that our counterparts in Kenya, our counterparts in India, in Ontario, Canada, what they did is they repeated an entire year. They reduced their subjects that they were providing or teaching to the children. They synthesized their curriculum. So it means that, the curriculum is not made to put you in a straitjacket. It's a guide. And so if you're driving down the road and you realize, hold on, there's a roadblock, you have to turn around. You have to navigate. You have to go to another road. It might take you a longer route, but you will get where you're going. So unless and until we get a written plan from the ministry and the Department of Education, and let me rest this at the feet of where it needs to be placed. And I'm not carrying any brief for the new minister. However, in my view, a new minister that walks into a new ministry, the ministry was functioning before she came, and the COVID challenges that we face in education, we were facing from before she came. So to me, the leadership in the ministry and the Department of Education should have handed the minister a written document. Madam, these are the challenges that we face. These are the statistics. We gathered this data. This is the survey we did. And we realized, okay, you know that education said publicly, and they said to us that 30% of the students did not have any type of instructional learning over the last 20 months. I cannot say to you as an educator and as the president leading a union of 3,000 plus members that the percentage out of that 30% was from preschool, from primary, from junior high, from senior high. So how do you plan?
That's right. Let's go. We're going to take a break. Belinda Wilson joining us, Bahamas Union of Teachers president. The minister was to join us today. She said she'll join tomorrow due to a meeting that is extended through the time. And so we will have her on tomorrow as well. You're listening to The Hit Back. We will be back right after this.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward, never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We're talking about education. Are we in an education crisis? I say yes, and my guest, Belinda Wilson, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, also has said the same, that we are indeed in an education crisis. And you know, why I love you, Belinda, Ms. Wilson, Madam President, you tell me
Belinda.
Is that I love you, sister. You don't waste time. There's no slapping up here. We have a job to do, and the job is our children. And the best way to give our teachers the tools to be effective in delivering that education to our children. You in essence, you haven't said anything. You haven't minced words, and I'm stuttering a bit trying to deliver this question. You've said, Belinda, in essence, that the technical team in the Ministry of Education, that a higher administrative force is really is the challenge we're seeing during this pandemic. Do you have any sort of apprehension in saying that, or are you fully saying the director and those who are dealing with this business, they need to check themselves, something needs to change here?
I don't think I've ever stuttered on this matter. And I believe I've expressed it publicly that the Director of Education, in my view, is not performing to the point where he's able to deliver us the competence and the vision that is needed to get us, the children, smoothly navigated through the pandemic and thereafter. And let me explain why. It is not personal. See, a teacher is given a curriculum, and we are told from September to June, these are the topics we should cover. These are the activities that we should do. We then write our lesson plans, we write forecasts, and guess what happens to a teacher? We are observed. We are observed. And we are observed and we are measured on whatever our performance is, it is measured. And so why should a teacher be observed twice per year? Why should a teacher, if his or her performance is not up to par, be given a written warning, verbal warnings? They can be disciplined. Their salaries can be cut or coded. The same standard should be for the individuals who are the education officials who serve as technocrats in not only in the Ministry of Education and the Department of Education, but throughout. Because I would think that each of them, they have a job description. And so you should show that you are performing your job efficiently and effectively. And so forget about Belinda even for a moment. I looked at the 1972 white paper on education, and the same concerns that were put forward in 1972, we're still grappling with. Teacher shortages, shortage of furniture and desks for classrooms, teachers' professional development and training, communication with education officials, the national budget for education. So what I'm saying is someone, and we keep dancing around, if teachers are to be held accountable, then your leaders in education must also be held accountable. And you know what we need to stop avoiding or running away from? If I hired you to do a job and I have an expectation, I have a test that I'm able to test what it is that you've produced for me. And what you've produced is mediocre. Then there's nothing wrong with saying to you, we gave you an opportunity to serve in this position. However, at this time, we need someone else to be in this position. And to me, it's not victimization, but it's the reality of what is the vision What is the vision for education today, December 6, 2021?
Great question.
What is the vision for education today? Because I don't know.
And I'll ask the minister that tomorrow because I'd like to know
I
too.
don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about programs that you introduce that starts today and then someone else comes in the next day and they change it. A vision outlives all of us. And so what I'm saying is, if you have a vision, in your vision, you have the idea. You have in your mind, you're the architect of that vision. Mm-hmm. And so you know that you are building an educational system where you need certain individuals with credentials, not only credentials, but with the passion, the compassion, and they have to have the wherewithal to do the job. And all I'm saying is the problems that we are addressing today have been addressed for the last 20 months. So when does someone pause and say, hey, we need to look at who it is? Who's that team? Who are the individuals who had the remit to carry out this function that they've not done? That's the reality.
Belinda Wilson joining us. So, there's a question here that I think is the obvious question. You answered it, I think, a little earlier, but let's go to it for a bit here. Where does the minister's job lie in this? And because I think you're making great points. Hey, what is the constant in it all? We know what the constant is. The constant is seemingly, of course, who stayed throughout. The dysfunction, my utter disappointment that we are here again, I can't even put it in words to verbalize. How is it that we're still here? It's like we didn't learn anything. We've not matured in any way. What? Like, why? Why is this happening? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
It is happening because, and I don't wish to be political, but it is happening because we have new slogans. Mm-hmm. New day. Mm-hmm. A new day brings on new ideas, new thinking, creativity. And all I'm saying is, if you had a television, if you had a radio, if you had social media apps, then you would know that the Bahamas Union of Teachers have been speaking from the beginning of the pandemic. So to me, if I'm going into a new position, but I'm aware of what the cries have been, then when I go in, I'm asking for, can you provide me with the document and the information for this, that, and the other? Let me just tell you, for example, I've been talking about the Ministry of Education's LMS, mm-hmm. the virtual platform that they have. And let me say this to you. This virtual platform that the ministry has is not the first. When I was the Secretary General of the Union, some 12, 15 years ago, the Ministry of Education had something called STI. The STI program was an electronic program. It had grading. It had report cards and mark books you were supposed to produce. There was supposed to be training for the teachers at that time, still the thousands, 3,000 plus teachers. To my knowledge, there were about 800 teachers that were trained on the STI system. Okay, that was abandoned. When I listen again, the ministry had something called Tune Into Reading, where a private company provided computers and technological devices and a system for education. Then when I heard again, we had something called Class Flow. Then when I heard again, we had something called the Power School. Then there was something called the Auto Skills, which was also a reading program. Now we have one-on-one virtual platforms. So what I'm saying is the education has wasted our meager resources with all millions of dollars spent on all sorts of different programs. But today, no one can say to us, we've reviewed, we've done an analysis of these programs, and we realized that this program here was abandoned because of XYZ. This other program was abandoned because of CDE. So all we're doing is new people come in with their own ideas.
Yep.
The ideas are not sound, but it's just everyone is trying to make a name for themselves. And the 48,000 children in the 171 public schools from Grand Bahama in the north to Inagua in the south, they are the persons who are negatively impacted. But no one cares enough because we too busy walking around, tapping ourselves on the back, saying how I've been promoted to this position, I have this title. But what are you doing? That at the end of the day, when you leave from that position, what the Bahamian people have entrusted you with, what are you going to be able to say? When I was there, this is what I did to change education for the better. I say no, you cannot say it, because education today, and me being a 30-year veteran, I can say, is in the worst state than it has ever been in my 30 years.
Wow. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson, joining us on the show. Belinda, and I won't lie to you. I haven't been, of course, I'm new to this in terms of the most recent years of noticing, but I've never seen it like this either. I think the pandemic has revealed the truth, our lack of progress and organization, our inefficiencies, right? This pandemic has revealed us as a country, I believe. It has revealed where we are. I want to ask you this, though. Where do we go from here? We Raggy Jeff Lloyd. We put him through the ringer, right? Now we have a new minister, right? Where do we go from here? What is expected of the new minister, or is it really minister deal with your ministry?
Yes. See, okay, we keep missing. The minister is your policy maker. So the policy that the minister would bring would be the vision from the cabinet colleagues and the leaders, the leadership of the country, the PLP government. This is where we would like to see education go. So once the technocrats guide the minister in the right direction, and the right direction is, first of all, being honest. You must be honest. And you must say to the minister, listen, we have a virtual platform. However, we met with the union's president. We had a 1-hour meeting with the union's president. She raised 31 agenda items about the challenges that teachers are facing trying to navigate this platform. So we looked at what it was that she presented to us. And based on that, ma'am, we think that these are the changes that should be made going forward. That's being honest. They should say to the minister, yes, the union president provided us a 52-page document that not only highlighted the concerns, but gave us recommendations, but we ignored it. So maybe we should pick that up and look at it. And let's have a meeting, a real meeting, not just to say that you met with the unions, but a meeting that will yield some benefits for the improvement of the system, not just today, not just 5 years while whichever minister is in, but for the future, infinity going forward. So let me tell you what I want to leave the public with.
Hold that thought. Let's take a break. Hold that thought. We got to take a break. When we come back, more with the BUT president, Madam Belinda Wilson. We'll be back right after this.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Here we go. J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents are the best. Reliable service, we've been on the scene, protected since 1919. J.S. Johnson Insurance has the test. You're always covering me. J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
Food security is a challenge for many. Now in a pandemic, many more are unsure of their next meal. Through their Feed 5,000 program and a $20,000 donation, AML is working to ensure that everyone has a meal for the holidays, and they're inviting you to help. Now until December 17th, visit any Solomon's, Costrite, Fresh Market, or Domino's in Nassau or Freeport, and Exuma Markets in Georgetown to donate and help feed a family in need this Christmas. No amount is too small. Remember, we're all in this together.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward. Never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Joining me now again, my guest, Belinda Wilson, BUT president. Belinda, before we went to break, you were going to share some, I'm going
to give some recommendations, which I would have given in the meeting on Friday, and I'm open to give it. It's free. The recommendation, it's free, and they can take it or just ignore me as they usually do. But I want to first of all say thank you to the teachers who, against all odds, they really, they went over and beyond the call of duty, trying to learn the platform, going to students' houses, teaching from WhatsApp, teaching from whatever form of technology they could find that was available to them. I really want to say thank you to them. And this pandemic has brought out for me that the teachers are the strength of the educational system. And as long as education personnel and the technocrats continue to make decisions and ignore the teachers who are the professionals, who are in the classroom every day with the children, as long as they continue to do that, we will not improve. But let me also say this too. I want to say thank you to the students, because there are some students who, against all odds again, they were there. They were online. They called their teachers. They WhatsApp their teachers. Some of them came to school along with their parents to pick up the hard copy packages that teachers prepared for students. So I want to say thank you to them. And I don't want the educational system to only center around the 30% of students who did not log on or who did not enter a classroom. That's very important, and I'm going to get to that quickly. But I want us to also, I want education. I'm giving advice now. I want education to also look at an accelerated program for those high flyers, for those students who did not miss a class, for those students who completed the curriculum, for those students who did their projects, for those students who are preparing for BJC and BGCSE, because we have a great number of them. What I want to also recommend, as I did in the meeting on Friday, December the 3rd, that those students who never came to school, the Bahamas Union of Teachers, we are expecting tutoring for those students. We are expecting extra classes for those students. We are expecting for the Ministry of Education to restart the extended program. This extended program happens like 3 to 4, Monday to Friday. You can also have the tutoring, the extra classes, and the extended learning program. All of them can happen simultaneously. Because if you have the data, if you do the assessment, then you would know what skills the students are lacking, and you will be able to guide their to prepare and design their program specifically to meet that skill or that need. What we're also asking the ministry, what we recommended, is that the ministry look at what assessment are you going to accept. So is it just a written examination that children will have in January or February, or are you going to look at quizzes, in-class tests, homework? The other thing is, even if we have to look at an aggressive summer program, and we talk about paying the teachers, pay other educators, even if they have to come from the private system. Yeah, and we're paying them for the summer and even weekend, Saturday classes. What is also important too, in order for this to be successful, when they have completed the assessments, are you going to group the children heterogeneously or homogeneously? Now, heterogeneous grouping means that you have all different ability levels in the class. So I just spoke about the high flyer. So are we going to go right back and put the high flyer in the class with the class where they've been to school one day? Or are we going to use this assessment to say that we are going to group them based on their ability levels, so that when the teachers are teaching, when they are getting the extra classes, the tutoring, or the extended program, it can be tailored toward the skills and the content that you want them to learn. Because if I'm an A and you have me in the class with an F student, then you have to even do a different strategic teaching for that, because you have to group them. You have to then give a different content to the A student versus the F student. That's the reality. What we also ask for the BUT is we ask for intervention. We have teachers at the primary level. We keep talking about students doing 11, 12, 13 subjects at the primary level. But the last man with a bunch of rhetoric say he was going to change that, he gone. So now we got a new woman. All right. So we're saying 13 classes at the primary school level, especially in this pandemic. Come on. So there's something called the integrated approach, where you can teach English language, but you can integrate your current events, history, mathematics, science in that English lesson. The primary school teachers, they know how to do that. They are generalists, which means that they've been trained in every subject. So they know how to integrate their lessons. We also need to ensure that there's an aggressive remedial program. So tell me why you're going to put the child who did not go in the class from March 2020 into the class and say, oh, come on, you have to do this syllabus here. You have to cover this topic. You have to cover these classes because you need to have a report card in February, a report card in June. A report card is not important. If everything on the report card is 00FFF, so it would be better to say, you know what? Let's pause. Let's put them on the remedial track. And let's make sure that when we get them in January, if they cannot spell cat, but in March they're able to spell cat, it means that they have improved.
Yeah, that's right.
So we need to stop playing school and let's do school for real. Let me also say this quickly as we move along. There's also the part of health and safety. Now, we await a meeting with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health. So listen now. We want 3 feet distancing. The BUT, we have our own COVID-19 checklist. And we had that from last year. So our shop stewards go into school. They take the checklist. They meet with the principals. They walk the school campus to ensure that the school is clean. The environment is healthy for our teachers and students to return. So we're asking, we want to ensure that the classes are 3 feet distancing. So if you're doing 3 feet distancing and you have 30 children in the class now, well, you know, if you're doing 3 feet distancing, you may only be into 15.
Yeah,
so,
you're outside.
So what they need to be doing in the Ministry of Education and the Department of Education now, other than cursing me under their breath, is to go out in the community and find out how many auditoriums, how many church halls they have available to them, and go and make arrangements so that the students will be able to return in a safe environment with social distancing. Because I let them know right now, I already told them, the teachers will not be entering any classroom with 30, 35, and 40 children jammed together. They had enough time to have a plan as to how we will return and how the social distancing will be. There must be markers in the school. There must be a sick bay in the school. There must be thermometers in the school to test the students' temperature. I'm happy that the New Day government said they're going to have free testing, and they're going to have the free testing piloted in January or the first quarter of 2022. But I'm saying to y'all, 171 schools from Grand Bahama to Inagua, that's the best place to pilot.
That's right. That's right.
With 3,000 plus teachers and 48,000 students, you have 55,000 individuals. If you include the custodial staff, the janitresses, the security, the yard man. So we are the best grouping for you to pilot your free COVID testing with. So I'm asking publicly, because we look like we ain't got to the meeting yet, and it's almost Christmas. So I'm asking publicly to pilot the program with the schools.
I like this idea.
The government public schools. So we also, we want to make sure that there are health teams. We know, now I won't ask for a nurse to be in every school. We have 171 schools on 29 islands and keys. So I can't ask for a nurse to be in every school. But you know what we're asking for? We're asking for teams the medical teams, the health teams. We need to know clearly who are the health teams, who are the leaders, what are the numbers that we have to contact if there's COVID positive cases or suspected cases in the school. So we're asking for signage, proper signage in the schools. And we want to make sure that water running in the schools so that the toilets could flush and the students could wash their hands. So a lot of times people say, oh, this Belinda Wilson again. Let me tell you something. Get used to hearing Belinda Wilson. Because the teachers, not you, the 3,000 members of the Bahamas Union of Teachers pay my salary. Not for me to sit and do what others do and be ineffective. They pay me to advocate on their behalf. They pay me so that when the shop stewards, the district stewards, the other executives of the Bahamas Union of Teachers who are throughout the country, when they contact me and they write me and they say, Madam President, this is a concern for us. They pay me to be their voice. And who don't want to hear me, it means one, you don't care about the nation's children. It means two, you may not have any children or family members in the public school system. But I am a product of the public school. I went to Woodcock Primary from grade 1 to 6. Blessings. I passed and the examination and I went to St. John's College.
Yeah,
Bless the Lord. But I'm a Ross Corner girl, yes. From the heart of the ghetto. Don't call it no inner city. Call it what it is, the heart of the ghetto. And so I feel for the little darlings who have not had an opportunity to go to school, because I was one of them from Ross Corner, who had to walk across to King Street and cross to Hospital Lane to go to Woodcock Primary School. So you who living in an ivory tower and you don't want to hear my voice, cock up your ears, turn off your radio or TV, do whatever it is you wish. But as long as God gives me breath and I hold the position of president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, they are paying my salary. They have expectations of me that I will perform my duties in an efficient and effective manner. So that means I write letters to the Prime Minister and to the Minister of Education. I write letters to the Public Service Commission. I write letters to other stakeholders. I go into meetings and I express myself just how I'm expressing myself now. But when you let our good be spoken negatively of, when you ignore sound recommendations and advice from the union, when you fail to collaborate, to consult, and to work along with us, then if you don't engage me behind the four walls or through the virtual platform, then I will engage you publicly, and I make no excuse and no apology. So I say this again. I belong to no party, and I carry no water for any politician. My job is president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, and I am a trained teacher with a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, and a teaching certificate. So when you bring garbage to teachers, I know garbage in, garbage out. So when you don't plan, when you are unable to explain the rationale for why you took a position only to be opposite to the position of the BUT, then I will speak. I will call you out. And it is not personal, because this is the 8th minister that I have been in contact with. And this is actually the 4th director since I've sat in the chair. So Belinda Wilson takes no prisoners. Do your job or vacate the seats.
Belinda Wilson, president of the BUT. Well, I think that this is some hard words, Belinda. it's very important. And I love the recommendations that you shared. You know, again, this is where my frustration comes. Because, Belinda, I can tell you, my kids, when they finally went back to school, one of your recommendations where you said that there should be this extended learning program, the school did it right away. We didn't ask for it. They planned for it. As soon as the kids went back to school, after school programs were done for them. They identified the weak areas based on what they were seeing virtually. And then they started that process. And that's why I'm so flawed that this continues to expand the gap of the haves and the have-nots. This is a failure. I'm so disappointed that we're still here. I want to ask you this question before we go on. Someone sent a text message and said, can you ask Mrs. Wilson, what is the difference between the Ministry of Education and the Department of Education?
Okay, glad you asked. The Ministry of Education is headed by the permanent secretary. The permanent secretary has remit for the entire educational system.
Hold on, Belinda, wait, hold on 1 second. My producer just told me a break, so we got to take a quick break and then you'll have it on the other side.
No problem.
All right, you're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
With BTC Business's new smart solutions powered by super-fast, reliable broadband, you'll feel like there are more versions of you working for you. From website design, development, and digital marketing to promote your business, 24/7 business class support to cloud solutions, security, and more. Multiply your growth today.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
At Fidelity, the holidays are all about family, spending time with loved ones, and being thankful for the little things in life. Worrying about bills should be the last thing on your mind, especially during the holidays. Let Fidelity help you get your bills under control. Fidelity can also get you started with a real savings plan that actually pays you interest. The only thing you need to think about is what you will do with the savings in your pocket this Christmas. Now that's what I'm talking about. Fidelity Bank is here for you this holiday season because you are family, and family is important to us.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. If you want to call in or text 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259, or text us at 422-4796. That's 422-4796. Joining us now, still with us, is the president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Belinda Wilson. All right, Belinda, so we ended with the question. The question is, what is the difference between the Ministry of Education and the Department of Education?
Okay, the Ministry of Education is the Ministry of Education is headed by the permanent secretary. Mm-hmm. So the permanent secretary has remit for the entire educational system. So if you look in the national budget, you would have head 38, which is the Ministry of Education. And if you look in head 38, it speaks to things such as, let's say, the physical plan. So the buildings, vehicles, insurance, rental, like the rental cottages that the Ministry of Education has. Now, the ministry has your permanent secretary, has an undersecretary, deputy permanent secretaries, and you go down, SAS, FAS, okay. But the Department of Education is what runs the day-to-day operations of the schools. So when you talk about human resource matters, the curriculum, school management, where teachers are reassigned from one school to the next, the sports activities, special education, teacher grievances. So your day-to-day operations is in the remit of the director of education. So I hope, right, so like for us, we had a meeting with the minister about 4 weeks ago. And so let's say I presented 50 items of concern for the union. At least 47 of them was the direct responsibility of the director of education.
You know, is that relationship, Belinda, as we get to calls, is the relationship between yourself as the union president and the director, is that relationship one that is reconcilable? Can we get stuff done in this relationship? Or is it to the place now where there is just too much friction? Is that perhaps why we aren't getting some of the concerns that the union has accomplished? Is there too much personal animosity here?
Okay, I don't know why people take things personal, because for Belinda Wilson, I think they've called me everything other than a child of God. But I know who I am and whose I am. And I know even my detractors in the union, because I have some, if they give an idea that is workable or recommendation that we can use, we use it. So people talk about personal. I don't go to lunch with you. You're my family member. You know, so my thing is, this is a professional relationship. I am the president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. You are the permanent secretary, or you are the director, or you are the deputy director, or whomever. So if I were not sitting in this chair, our paths probably would never cross. So when you see me, you can't see, oh, that's the Belinda White. I don't like her, you know. No. You have to see 3,000 soldiers standing behind me. That's what you have to see. And what you have to also see is, I don't go to bed, wake up the next morning and say, oh, I go into call education and pick on them today. No. What I bring forward are concerns, grievances, recommendations that come from myself, my executive team, or executives individually, and our members collectively.
Let's get to these calls. Belinda Wilson joining us. Caller, you're on the hit back. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air. Welcome.
Yes, I just would like to give Madam President some encouraging words. You know, she is doing a very well job from about, I would say, 10 plus years, or even longer than that. I know she served about 4 terms as president of the union. And, you know, like she say, she went through about 8 ministers, okay? And so I think it's time that the government, particularly the ministers or the ministry, start the work with this lady, because we all see, you know, even the public, they back her. So it's time that, you know, we start, they start to back this lady.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate the call. We got a next call on the line. Caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very much. 2 quick points I'd like to build. 2 quick questions. I am wondering if they were having the exams. I dread what the results would look like, but maybe you can share some light, because I think it would be deplorable. And the other issue is there a problem? Because I know there are some children who living among us who attend school and whose parents don't know the difference between tall and long, and they sometimes use these words interchangeably. How much having such diverse group of people in our country is affecting the progression of education? Can you just address that one? I'm being very broad with it, eh?
Thank you so much, caller Belinda.
Okay, I'll say thank you to the first caller for your kind words, and I'm now responding to the second caller. That's why I was talking earlier about recalibrating. See, because, okay, when you started out with education, and I think our educational system could be well over 100 years old. So if at the time when my daddy is 92. Hey, Daddy, Reverend Basil Johnson, we love you. So my daddy is 92. So I would think when my daddy and mom went to school, mom passed away 2 years ago, y'all, she was 90, that they had a different curriculum from what is needed today. And see, I noticed earlier in the show, Nahaja talked about the different economy. See, and that's another thing too. We talk about, we're gonna have diversification, or the orange economy, the blue economy. Your economy could be the rainbow colors if you do not prepare your educational system.
Come on now.
To meet the demands of the orange, blue economy, then we are going to be right where we are today, 50 years from now.
Preach. Preach. Caller, you're on the line. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Love your show. Watch it all the time.
Thank you.
I totally agree 100% with Belinda Wilson regarding the accelerated and the remedial plan for students returning. I had a question as to whether in the future there is an opportunity to have all of this stuff on demand. The training of our students, we need the teachers, and this question doesn't mean that we get rid of the teachers, but for some programs, whether there's a future opportunity to have some of the classes on demand so that students, for example, who excel at an accelerated level can just go in, study at their own pace, fast forward ahead, and where we can choose what hours of the day learning is done, especially for parents who are not in a position to be home with the virtual learning with them during the normal school hours. If it's on demand, they can do it on weekends. They can do it at night when the parents are home. So that's my question, whether there's an opportunity for certain subjects or, the curriculum to be on demand.
And I want to say this great question, caller. I want you to keep that question too and ask that again tomorrow when we have the Minister of Education on, because I'd like to get her thoughts on that as well. But Belinda, your thoughts on that?
Let me take a stab at that. Remember I said earlier about students who excel and who are A students. Mm-hmm. And I believe that we need to have I think there are a few of our students that do an advanced program with UB, but the parents speaking about having the program, the curriculum on demand, for me, you would think that is something that when we are touting, we have a virtual platform, we have virtual school. But if you can't get 100% of the teachers, you can't get 100% of the students on the virtual platform after 20 months, having anything on demand. And let's see, the problem is the thinking. Okay, the thinking, I don't see any visionary thinking. I don't see any thinking out of the box. What I see is persons doing whatever enough to make it through, to say that I did my job today. But I don't see any visionary out of the box thinking.
And this is concerning when we're talking about education, that it's supposed to be futuristic. Learning today, what you're learning is already the past. And we really aren't doing anything futuristic in our educational system at this point. We have another caller on the line, and then I got some text questions for you. Caller, you're on the Hit Back. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Nahaja.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for calling.
Right, and good afternoon to your guest, Ms. Wilson. I caught the second half of your show, and I listened very attentively to what the president said, because I had that discussion with her in 2017. But with our situation has changed dramatically since then, because it's a year and 9 months since students been out of school, and the recommendations she make a whole lot of sense, and I trust and pray that the new minister will see to it that most of what she has said can be implemented in the shortest possible time, because too many children have already fallen, not through the crack. I don't know where to say that they are at this point, because a year and 9 months is really a long time. And catching up for 1 year and 9 months is a lot. When I understand that almost half of the students never even logged on. That is a matter of grave concern. The minister said it is a matter of urgency, and we need to do something quickly.
Yes. Caller, thank you so much. Let's get to our last caller, and then I want to get to this text before the time runs out. Caller, you're on the Hit Back. Welcome.
Yes, good evening, Hit Back, and Mrs. Belinda Wilson, how are you?
I'm good, sir.
Wonderful. You've always been a great woman of valor. But you said that the bureaucrats that are inside the ministry, they are not changing, and that's why policies doesn't change. It's just slogans that change. Jerome Fitzgerald couldn't get them out of there, and so did Jeff Lloyd. What's the difficulty? What's so difficult to get them out of there? Is it contracts or it is the will of the minister? Because Glenys Hannah Martin is a worker. She'll do anything to get the job done. So we expect her to get it done.
Thank you for the question. They're not on contract. They are career civil servants, but it just takes someone to face the reality that this is not working. We need to try something else. So they need to have the gravitas to make the change.
Yeah, I like that. The gravitas to make the change. Okay, we got one more. This is our final caller, Belinda. Let's get this final call. Caller, you're on the Hit Back. Welcome.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Belinda. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. But Nahaja, I had to get into this conversation, Belinda. You and I don't always see eye to eye, but you're a wonderful person, and I must say, whenever there are grievances, you stand up for the teachers. But I want to say this: I believe that our problem in our educational system is we have too many personal agendas. We've had these children in the inner city, and this is the inner city, and like Belinda said, the ghetto. They are the children that I stand up for. When you have children without internet, without light, but yet still you bring them back to school and you're going to give them a test. What are you testing them on? I really believe that we need to revamp the educational curriculum. Again, a whole lot of things that we're teaching on the curriculum, I really don't see where and I'm a teacher by profession, I really don't see where it makes sense.
Yeah, caller, thank you so much. And it's because we're running out of time, Belinda, but you know what? Here it is.
We've been calling and asking for curriculum revision now for years.
Let me ask you this before you go. Someone asked this question. Jade asked a question. Can you ask Ms. Wilson if she thinks single-sex schools are better than co-ed schools? And what research do you have as a former teacher on that, if you do?
We don't have much research in the Bahamas on that. Stephen Dillard had a cohort of all boys in a class. Travis Robinson is one of those students. I think it was maybe about 17 to 20 of them. I don't know what happened with the other students. So we don't have enough data or research to say whether, either way, whether it's better or worse. And we didn't even touch the surface of the GLAD.
That's why we need to do it again.
BJC, the BGCSE.
We got to do it again, Belinda. We got to do it We got to do it again because this show is
after the minister. I'm available.
Good. All right. Belinda Wilson, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Special thanks to Belinda Wilson. Tomorrow we will be hosting the Minister of Education. This conversation continues because our children's education is the most important thing. It is a national crisis, an invisible one that is very visible in the heart of our country and communities. We'll see you tomorrow. We're out.